The Portuguese nobleman Vasco da Gama (1460–1524) sailed from Lisbon in 1497 on a mission to reach India and open a sea route from Europe to the east. After sailing down the western coast of Africa and rounding the Cape of Good Hope, his expedition made numerous stops in Africa before reaching the trading post of Calicut, India in May 1498. Da Gama received a hero's welcome back in Portugal and was sent on a second expedition to India in 1502, during which he brutally clashed with Muslim traders in the region. 2 decades later, Da Gama again returned to India, this time as Portuguese viceroy. He died dead of an illness in late 1524. On May 17, 1498, the fleet reached Kapakadavu near Calicut in the current Indian state of Kerala, thus having established their route via the Indian Ocean and managing to open the sea route from Europe to India. Why did the Europeans go out in the world? Silks, fine materials, spices, incense, and other exotic exchange goods attracted the Europeans to explore the world. Caravans traveled on trade routes to bring back valuable objects to Europe. Christopher Columbus and James Cook sailed over the oceans and discovered new continents and new trading routes to the east. Who was the first to sail around the southern tip of Africa? The Portuguese sailor Bartolomeu Diaz was the first one to sail around the southern tip of Africa. His king had given him the task of finding the southernmost tip of Africa, to sail around it and try to find a trade route to India. He started in 1487 and had to turn back after reaching the Eastern Cape in South Africa. It was only on his return voyage did Diaz notice that he had sailed around the southern tip of the African continent. With this voyage, the spice route to India became possible. In 1497, 9 years after the return of Diaz, Vasco da Gama started to sail to India with a fleet. It was not easy to cross the Indian Ocean, controlled by the Arabian traders, but he was able to do it. Why were the spices so precious? Spices were used by the people in the medieval age not just to improve taste of the food, but also to preserve food and as the base for medicines. Spices were as valuable to people at that time as crude oil is to us today. The Arabian countries and the city-state of Venice became very rich by trading in spices. Rome, followed by Spain and Portugal, established a direct trade with India via the Red Sea. When the Portuguese explorers found the sea route to India around the southernmost tip of Africa in the 1497, it started a new spice route as well as the colonization of remote countries. Archaeological evidence of people using pepper goes back to at least 2000 BC in India. It's known that pepper was exported, but to what extent remains a mystery. Nonetheless, signs of an ancient paper trade from India to Egypt have been found, including the peppercorns that had been stuffed into the nostrils of Ramses the Great 1303 and 1213 BC when he was mummified. The fruits of Piper nigrum is the source of one of the world's most traded and frequently used spices. Black pepper is a perennial flowering vine native to southern India that's cultivated for its fruit that is dried and used as a spice or seasoning. The fruit is a single-seeded, troop and the sauce of black, white, and green peppercorns. Black peppercorns are the cooked and dried and ripe fruit. Green peppercorns are the dried and ripe fruit. And the white peppercorns are the ripe seeds. Historically, black pepper has been one of the world's most traded spices and so valuable that it was used as currency or collateral. The term peppercorn is a reference to the high price of black pepper in Europe during the Middle Ages.